Forbidden Door 2026 is 2 weeks away. AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, CMLL, and Stardom are all on the same card on June 28th in San Jose. From promotions, dozens of the best wrestlers in the world, one night. The whole concept of Forbidden Door is dream matches, things you cannot see anywhere else. Men fighting men from different companies, different styles, different worlds colliding. And right now, 3 weeks out, the men's side has the Owen Hart tournament final shaping up between Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. The main event is building, the card is filling out, the buzz is real. And on the women's side, we have a tournament final, no confirmed crossover matches, no announced title defenses, no storylines building towards anything. The Women's World Champion Tekla has no match confirmed for Forbidden Door. The TBS Championship is vacant. The previous champion, Willow Nightingale, is out with a shoulder injury. Toni Storm, the biggest star in the women's division as produced, is expected to miss the rest of 2026 entirely with an injury. And Mercedes Moné just returned with a wildcard tournament entry with no story behind her return. This is the state of the women's division heading into AEW's biggest crossover show of the year. And the frustrating thing is none of this is new. This is the same story AEW has been telling about its women's division since Forbidden Door began. It is just louder this time because right now everything else around it is good. Let me give you the Forbidden Door women's division history because the pattern is undeniable. Forbidden Door 2022, the women's match on the main card was a 4-way for the TBS Championship. Backstage, women from New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom were almost entirely absent from the card. Forbidden Door 2023 in Toronto, the Women's Owen Hart Tournament semifinals was bumped to the pre-show. The pre-show, a multi-promotional event with Stardom on the poster, and the women's tournament match did not make the main card. Forbidden Door 2024, better. Dana Rosa and Momo Watanabe had a match. The Owen Hart final made the card. Some crossover matches happened. Forbidden Door 2025 in London, Toni Storm retained the Women's World Championship against Athena. That was a good match on the main card. But look at the trajectory. Every year, there is a conversation about whether the women's side is getting enough. Every year, the conclusion is somewhat kind of more than before, but not what it should be. And now in 2026, we have the most talent available for the most promotions in the history of these events. Stardom has world-class wrestlers. Sayuri is the IWGP World Champion. Sari was booked for Dynamite. CMLL has Xerxes. Persephone is in the Owen Hart tournament. Ring of Honor is Deonna Purrazzo. The talent pool for a genuine women's showcase at Forbidden Door 2026 is deeper than it has ever been. And with a few weeks to go, the only confirmed women's match is the Owen Hart tournament final. That is not a showcase. That is a minimum. I want to be fair before I push so hard. AEW's women's division has been hit with a brutal run of injuries in 2026. Toni Storm is out for the rest of the year at a minimum. This is a devastating loss. Storm was not just a title holder. She was the identity of the division. For years, the timeless character, the crowd reactions, the way she elevated every feud she was in. She is irreplaceable in the short term, and AEW cannot fully be blamed for her being hurt. Then Willow Nightingale won the TBS Championship a New West match and was building real momentum. She was injured too. She relinquished the TBS title on the May 20th episode of Dynamite. Now the TBS Championship is vacant. A new champion will be crowned in a survival of the fittest match on July 1st. 2 major players out, both injured, both gone, heading into the biggest crossover show of the year. I understand that. Injuries are part of the business, but here's what I cannot excuse. AEW knew about these injuries weeks in advance. Toni Storm has been out since March. There is 3 months of lead time to build alternative women's stories for the Forbidden Door. Willow was injured in May. There is still enough time to establish a new direction. Instead, AEW has spent those weeks building the men's card. The Ospreay and Swerve tournament story has been built over multiple weeks with clear narrative direction. The MJF Championship reign has segments and promos and challenges. The women's side got a Mercedes Moné's wildcard entry. The injuries are real. The lack of planning around the injuries is a choice. Now, let me talk about Tekla specifically because she is the person being most directly failed by the situation. Tekla won the AEW Women's World Championship on February 11th by beating Chris Statlander on Dynamite. This was genuinely surprising and exciting moment. The Toxic Spider, an Austrian wrestler who had been working her way to AEW for years. She won the biggest prize in the division and she has defended it with real quality. At Double or Nothing, she successfully defended against Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander, and Hikaru Shida in a 4-way match. She beat 3 former AEW Women's World Champions in one night to retain. That is not a fluke champion. That is a champion proving she belongs at the top. And Forbidden Door is 3 weeks away. and there is no confirmed opponent for a title. The Women's World Championship is not even confirmed for the card yet. Think about what they communicate. The Men's Owen Hart Tournament Final is a confirmed main event of Forbidden Door. The Women's Owen Hart Tournament Final is confirmed. But the Women's World Championship match is still unannounced with like 2 weeks to go. On a show that has Stardom on the poster, with the IWGP Women's Champion Sayuri available. Tekla vs. Sayuri is a dream crossover match that writes itself. Two champions, two different styles, a genuine Forbidden Door concept match that should have been announced weeks ago as a centerpiece of the women's side of the show. Instead, we are sitting 2 weeks out to find out the Women's World Champion is even on the card. I know that she went to Stardom and declared war on Stardom, but that is disrespect. Not intentional maybe, but disrespect to neglect is still disrespect. Here's the thing that makes this specific situation so inexcusable. Stardom is literally on the Forbidden Door poster. Not as a footnote, as a promotional partner, one of 4 companies co-producing this show. Stardom is the premier women's wrestling promotion in the world right now. The roster is stacked with world-class talent. Sayuri, Sari, Momo Watanabe, Mayu. The entire reason Stardom is on this poster is because their presence gives AEW access to the best women's wrestling in the world. And in 2026, 2 weeks before the show, there are no confirmed Stardom matches on the card. Sari was booked on Dynamite this week. That is a start. One match on the road to Forbidden Door. But where is Sayuri? Where is the Women's World Champion match? Where is the showcase that justifies having Stardom on the poster? Because right now, Stardom's involvement in Forbidden Door 2026 amounts to their logo in the graphics. That is not a partnership. That is optics. New Japan Pro Wrestling talent is all over the men's side. Mark Davis, Brody King. The entire bracket is built around AEW and New Japan interaction. And the women's side of the Stardom and CML partnership is essentially invisible. That imbalance is the exact problem this event is supposed to solve. Forbidden Door exists to break the walls between promotions. And on the women's side, those walls are still standing. I am not writing off Forbidden Door 2026. AEW has 2 weeks. 2 weeks is enough time to build if the will is there. Here's the minimum that needs to happen. Tekla needs a confirmed challenger announcement as soon as next week, and it should be from Stardom. And it's already going that way, but it should be from Stardom. The most logical and most exciting option is Sayuri. Announce it, build it. You have 2 weeks of Dynamite and whatever Collision and Rampage time you have. That is enough to create a legitimate reason to care about this match. The TBS Championship situation needs to be addressed at Forbidden Door, not just on the July 1st Dynamite. Put the vacant title on the line at Forbidden Door, make it a crossover match. Diana Perosa from Ring of Honor, Xerxes from CMLL, Windsor, who's already in the tournament, whoever else fits. This match exists, it makes sense, it uses the crossover concept properly, and the Mercedes Monet situation needs a story, not just the tournament results. She needs a promo, a moment, something that tells the audience who she is heading into Forbidden Door and what winning the Owen Hart means to her right now. Give the women's division the same television time in the next 2 weeks that the men's side has not been getting for the past months, that the men's side has been getting for the past months. Not equal time in a tokenistic sense. Real time, real stories, real investment. AEW has a talent available to make the women's side at Forbidden Door 2026 genuinely special. The question is whether they will choose to use it.